afternoon, everybody. This is Pamela coming at you with a video vlog, chat, speakeasy, hooch parlor, whatever you want to call it. I am having a spirited argument with a couple of Trump freaks on one of the members of the Memphis Mafia's Facebook page. For those of you that don't know who the Memphis Mafia was, those were people that worked for Elvis Aaron Presley. One of them is a starting follower of Donald Trump. He wants him back in office for another 4 years. They say Trump didn't do anything wrong, but I say bullshit. Because the last 4 years were priming and pumping his stupid Duck Dynasty base to go and raid the Capitol and take it over. All because Mr. Fat Boy, Mr. Kentucky Fried Chicken and Diet Coke lost the election. And you know, over 4 years, I've tried to be patient with that idiot, but he never changed from the moment he got into office. And how many of you remember that day when the Capitol got attacked? Boy, I do. And I remember going around Twitter, seeing the video that Don Jr., his daughter, and members of his family were celebrating and watching that crap as it all went down. You know, and Laura Branigan's official Facebook and Twitter have stated that the Trumps did not have the legal right to use the song Gloria playing in the background. So, and as I've said over the last 4 years on my home channel, Donald Trump is poison to this country. And the bastardizing and beating up of people at rallies, the mocking of disabled people, the tearing down of our military most astutely, and all the hate crimes against blacks and Middle Easterners has culminated into the big attack on our Capitol on January 6th of 2020. And I hear that Donald Trump has tried to make a comeback on Twitter, defying the suspension rules. Possibly going back through fake accounts or family accounts, I don't know. Check out the channel, The David Pakman Show. He'll give you all the information you would ever need to know on Donald Trump and his activities over the last 4 or so years. So go and check that channel out. It's called The David Pakman Show. And I'll be sure to link it below once this stream is done. But I was having a spirited conversation with some Trumpists on Facebook. And I have put up rebuttal after rebuttal and rebuttal after rebuttal, and they still don't want to believe that Donald Trump did anything wrong. But you know, they're trying to blame the Democrats for shit. But you know what? Tim Ryan got on the platform, on the floor here the other day, and finally blew down what the Republicans actually stood for. You know, in other words, he drew a line in the sand and said, cut the bullshit. Stop talking about Dr. Seuss and doing what's right for the American people. And let me see if I can pull it up here on my other channel here. Let me go to my home channel here if I can. Let me go to YouTube. But you know, our country has turned into a mass mess because it is a mess. Brothers and sisters fighting each other, all because we don't agree. But I wasn't the idiot who stormed the Capitol in January. Nope. Let's see here. Let's see. Tim Ryan. Okay, Tim Ryan. Oh, come on. Bullshit. Okay, here it is. It's on my Sharing News and Music. Go over there if you want to see the actual video, but I'll play the audio for you. But he cut the bullshit with the Republicans. And he says, if you want to talk about tax cuts, you'll automatically get in line and vote for that. But listen to this.
Mr. Speaker, one of the earlier speakers said, this is the most dramatic change in labor law in 80 years. And I say, thank God. In the late 70s, a CEO made 35 times the worker. Today, it's 300 to 400 times the worker. And our friends on the other side running around with their hair on fire. Heaven forbid we pass something that's going to help the damn workers in the United States of America. Heaven forbid we tilt the balance that has been going in the wrong direction for 50 years. We talk about pensions, you complain. We talk about the minimum wage increase, you complain. We talk about giving them the right to organize, you complain. But if we were passing a tax cut here, you'd be all getting in line to vote yes for it. Now stop talking about Dr. Seuss and start working with us on behalf of the American workers. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman is reminded to direct his comments to the chair. The gentleman from Virginia.
Okay, I'm going to play it again so you guys can really hear it. I mean, he really laid down the law with these Republican assholes. They don't want to help the common working man. They'd rather have tax cuts for themselves and the rich buddies that they have. And basically, Tim Ryan says, cut the shit. We need to start helping the people who need it. So let me play the audio again so you guys will get the picture.
Mr. Speaker, one of the earlier speakers said, this is the most dramatic change in labor law in 80 years. And I say, thank God. In the late 70s, a CEO made 35 times the worker. Today, it's 300 to 400 times the worker. And our friends on the other side running around with their hair on fire. Heaven forbid we pass something that's going to help the damn workers in the United States of America. Heaven forbid we tilt the balance that has been going in the wrong direction for 50 years. We talk about pensions, you complain. We talk about the minimum wage increase, you complain. We talk about giving them the right to organize, you complain. But if we were passing a tax cut here, you'd be all getting in line to vote yes for it. Now stop talking about Dr. Seuss and start working with us on behalf of the American workers. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman is reminded to direct his comments to the chair.
So there you go. You know, he finally said what I've been dying to say for a long time. But I'm not a big-time political person on the floor of the House. It's time for the Republicans to stop talking about their tax cuts when there are people hurting. Lord and Taylor has shuttered for good. That's how bad things are getting in the general public. Not a lot of stores can go online for online-only shopping. And it's sad, it really is. And then the black people can't get the breaks that they need. Some of them are operating small businesses, and they're not getting the help they need. You know, and the Republicans don't want to do a damn thing, and they want to smear the Democrats for all that they can. You know, and some of the things that these Trumpists are trying to sling in the eyes of the Democrats are some of the stuff that they may have burned down. But I told the people that are talking about this, I don't believe you. And I said, besides, what was Trump doing in those 3 hours as the attack was going on? He said, and I quote, I'll march down there with you. We'll march down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol to fight to get our country back. Did he or did he not say that? He did say that, but like the coward that he is, he held a watch party at his place, the White House, and watched it all go down. And there was video floating around Twitter showing them having a good time, having a party, and watching all that crap on the screen. Like it was some big fucking watch party. And now I hear Trump is trying to make a comeback on Twitter, probably under fake accounts or members of the family. I don't know, but David Pakman has talked about it. He could give you more insight on that. Look up the David Pakman Show, and I donate to his news cycle. He is the most sensible on the internet in terms of news. That and the Ring of Fire, which I also listen to. Another guy I want you guys to listen to is Brian Taylor. I'll have to find his channel. I think is Coleman, Brian Taylor Coleman. But I'll have to find those channels and I will get them to you, or I'll link them to my channel. Who's trying to make sense of the political mess that we've been dealing with for 4 years. And a lot of the Republicans are mad that Joe Biden is actually getting work done. You know, and my poor older brother, he doesn't have a full-time job because, you know, he's doing electrical work for now. It helps keep a little money in his pocket. It keeps him from losing his home. I worry about my older brother because he's over 50. He's worked at Macy's Furniture for over 35 years. Then that business closed, leaving him without a job. He could come back and sell the last of the inventory unless he gave back his severance. My brother's like, I said, that sounds to me like blackmail. You leave with nothing, you know, you go into the job with nothing, you leave with nothing. And he says, that's what I got too. And he says, I told him where to go and how high to jump. I earned that pension. I earned that walking money. I'm not giving it back because of something that happened to them. I earned that money. That's my money. I put over 30 years of my life into that business. And I said, I know. And when he found out about these jobs of going to different businesses and helping with electrical equipment, he didn't want to go away from home. But I said, John, if it puts money in your pocket, what have you got to lose? You know, what have you got to lose, dude? You know, and you don't see Trump doing anything the last 4 years to help people get jobs. You know, and Biden's just trying to fix the mess that Trump put us in. Like I said, I've had a spirited discussion with these assholes. And I don't care to even deal with them anymore. I've even slammed some for, you know, and I said to, you know, they were trying to say that Black Lives Matter and Antifa destroyed our country with looting, rioting, and murder. And I said, you know, and then she says, who do you believe, CNN? And I said, BLM did nothing wrong. I do believe CNN. Fuck Tucker Carlson and Newsmax. Trump was watching the attack and loving it. He sat and watched it all unfold just like a sporting event. They were wanting to kill anyone that stopped Trump from staying in office. And then I posted again. Besides, what the hell was Trump doing during those 3 hours as the attacks happened? I bet you all can't tell me one thing. Here's the article with images of him watching the whole thing go down. And that was on the National Herald. Let's see, it was on, the National Herald, India.com. And they actually had video floating around here. And like I said, you know, they were trying to say that Democrats were burning down 5 cities. And I told the guy, I said, I don't believe you. Don't believe you. So that's the kind of heated arguments I've been having with people. So, Yeah, I don't need some dumb bitch from Duck Dynasty country to tell me that a responsible president does not, I repeat, does not incite people to go to the Capitol, my capital, and overthrow the government because Mr. Hamburger Man lost. And I was very patient with Trump during these 4 years. But you know, he wasn't going to grow out of being a damn man child. We all know that. He's a fucking narcissist. He doesn't like being out of the spotlight. You know, and even his own niece said he's much more happier in the You're Fired zone on TV. The Apprentice. He was much happier doing The Apprentice. That's where he belongs. He doesn't belong on the national stage like the presidency because he is not built for it. And you know, New York wants to punish him so bad. People in Florida don't want him. They know he's poison. They know he's dangerous. And now David Pakman says that he is trying to force his way back onto Twitter. The guy is a fucking attention whore. If the fights at the rallies at the beginning of this thing didn't prepare you for the biggest culmination in January, then you're only fooling yourself. We all know he was a dangerous maniac. And I'm on blood pressure pills because of him. And the reason why is he has Republican bitches still trying to cover for his ass. Kelly McEnany has a job on Fox. Another one of Trump's guys is on Newsmax. And you expect me to believe anything that comes out of Fox's mouth? No. I don't even watch WSYX anymore because they are Fox wannabes. I watch NBC and I watch CNN. That's it. And you know, Tim Ryan is right. The Republicans need to stop giving little padded tax cuts for them and start helping the people who actually need it. Especially our farmers and the elderly, the sick, disabled, our people that serve this country. They certainly need the help. But you know, Trump wasn't going to do nothing to help them. He wanted absolute power and permanent power. Don't you all see that? Trump is a demented asshole that needs to be locked up and have a severe psych exam. Because we all know he ain't fit. And what about Moscow Mitch? He doesn't think he's going to survive his term. You know, and I think channels like Ring of Fires was throwing around the idea of term limits for people like Moscow Mitch and age limits. I think so. I mean, Moscow Mitch, or as I like to call him, Mitch the Bitch, he's about 80 years old. Maybe it's time for him to get his pink slip and slither off into retirement. But in actuality, I want people like him to go to jail. And anybody that helped incite that insurrection that day, they should all be found, they should be prosecuted, and they should be put in jail. They're not going to let the showman out until trial day. He's only supposed to go from his cell to trial and back. You know, and that other guy that went into Pelosi's office and stole a piece of her mail, he's not allowed out of jail. I think the culture in terms of current Washington is finally waking up to the fact that we had dangerous maniacs that were willing to do anything for Trump, just so he could stay in power and not face going to jail. That's what this is all about. But a couple of his followers are whining and crying because they say, oh, it's not fair. We were in jail too long. Cry me a river, you cocksucker. Cry me a fucking river. Don't do the crime if you're not man enough to do the time. Because I might not have agreed with Trump's policies, but I would never, ever, ever storm my Capitol to overturn the election. The election was fair. It was honest. And I voted for Biden, and Miss Kamala Harris because it's the right thing to do. Biden is a strong family man. He has dealt with a lot of loss in his life, but he knows what's at stake for our country. And Trump has done very little to help with the coronavirus. He has downplayed it. There is audio of that, and I'm not going to share it. If you want to find it, you better find it yourself. He said, and I quote, "I'm playing it down. I love playing it down." And then they have audio of calls to the state of Georgia, to some of the heads of the voting in Georgia, where he was trying to pressure them into making up so many thousands of votes so he could maintain the win and remain in office. You can't make that up. Every phone call that's in the White House is recorded. So he could still be prosecuted. I hope he is prosecuted, because if he isn't, there is something wrong with our judicial system. And now hearing about what's happening with Andrew Cuomo, he's got another sexual assault charge. But I'm saying, if you cannot convict Trump, who is a known manhandler, I could grab him by the pussy, remember? I'm not a fan of such and such. Never was. But he has a big obsession with kissing women. I can move in on him like a bitch, remember? And I also said on that discussion on Facebook, there are some people that actually understand what I'm talking about, but very few. I wasn't going to let that scum sucker live down what Trump has done. I can't. I never will let him live it down. Especially when he mocks a disabled reporter, picks on women, and decides to single out Muslims. But what he fails to realize is that we have homegrown terrorists right here in our country. And Donald John Trump played to every single one of them. In fact, the one chick who got shot, I forget her name. I don't want to say her name. But she said that she was willing to die for Trump. That is how crazy the Trumpists are. And when that attack happened on the Capitol, my oldest brother and my twin brother are staunch Trump supporters. But I told my older brother especially, I'm glad you weren't crazy enough to go to Washington, D.C. and ruin your life like those jokers did. And I'm sad for my country. I am so sad and sick for my country that fellow brothers and sisters would trounce our own Capitol, all because Trump lost the election. You have to learn how to live with it. You have to learn how to move on from it. And if you can't, you're going to be very lonely. And it hurts me. And I've let my feelings be known to my brother. I said, Trump did what he did, and now he has to face the consequences. Just think of it this way. If you were in the Capitol and you were trying to do your job, would you want somebody coming up into your space and pointing a gun to your head and play Russian roulette with you? I don't think so. The day the Capitol was stormed, they didn't care who was in the office. They were looking to kill Mitch and anybody who got in the way. They even said they wanted to put the bullet in the brain of Miss Nancy Pelosi. And that scares me. Are their lives that desperate Most of them were rich motherfuckers that the tax breaks were going to, I think. God forbid you have to take a little cut in your pay so we could help other families. And a lot of the farmers in the Corn Belt have been taken for a sucker by Trump. One of them even said, I won't be voting for him again. I was taken by that guy. And the one young lady that I talked to that showed some sense in the political field about what I was trying to explain to these dunderheads that they call Trumpists. One lady says, it's amazing how much power Trump had over people. And I said, but I'm not going to let that dunderhead get away with what he done. I'm not going to let him live down all that bad shit that he's done, especially inciting our capital, to a riot. And because of that, a police officer had been murdered. A young woman had been shot at and killed because the Secret Service was trying to protect the Capitol. And yet, there was no National Guard. Trump didn't even decide to employ the National Guard. Somebody else did. And as I've said, what the hell was he doing in those 3 hours? I think he was sitting there watching and gloating and saying, look at the weak people being taken down by our strong, mighty force that is fighting for my right to be in office. He lost that right. We made the votes. The voices of the people count. But Trump has never had the real task of losing on a big stage. Having a business is one thing, but when you're in a big office, where you're in charge of the entire country, think about it. You have to balance the bills. You have to protect our borders. You have to hold domestic and foreign attackers accountable. But yet Trump didn't do that for the domestic terrorists. No, he didn't. He praised them. He could have stopped all that day, but he didn't. He claims that he doesn't like the violence. He doesn't like the carnage. But the last 4 years have built up to a crescendo that is something that I don't ever want to see again. I don't want to see my Capitol attacked again. I don't want to see people being hurt or killed because somebody doesn't agree with somebody. And Donald Trump really didn't do shit for this country. He filled his own pockets. He didn't help anybody. He was only trying to help himself. And you know what? For all I know, he could have been sitting in the bathroom playing with his tiny dick those 3 hours that day. He should pay for what he did. He is a con man. He is a direct narcissist. And he has no place in the political field. And for those that are covering his ass, had better stop it. You had better stop it and start thinking about the working class and the poor that need the help. But God forbid, if they come up with tax cuts for you, you'd be lining up to vote for it. They don't want to see people get out of poverty. They want to see the poor people suffer. But you're not in Trump's camp anymore. You're in America's camp. You work for the American people. And I'm here to make sure that in 2024, I will be voting out Trump should he try to run again. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You could look up at all the video that he's had up during his 4 years, and you could see all the lies and all the bullshit that he has spewed. And he says, I'd like to punch somebody. Or he would say something like, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and not lose voters. If this was years ago, that guy would be carried out on a stretcher. And I think one of his own followers was thrown out of a rally. I think it was a black guy that got thrown out of a rally. saying that he got an email from Trump and wanted to show him. But he got taken out of the rally. So, I think the moral of the story here, he riled up his base in a course of 4+ years. And when the chips went down that day in January, he wasn't going to march with them to the Capitol. He's like, I'll just tell them that. And then when they are stupid enough to post video, they'll end up going to jail for the crime that I committed. And that's what's happened. He used his base as his fall guy. There you have it. That is what I've seen over the last 4 years. And I must say, I'm proud of President Biden for standing up for this country, and especially the person that is speaking for him. We don't take any answers from Donald Trump. He doesn't run the country anymore. In other words, he needs to accept the fact that he lost. He doesn't run the country anymore. He can go to Mar-a-Lago and eat as much hamburgers as he wants. Maybe he'll drink so much Diet Coke, he'll explode. I don't care. The guy's a dog, and he'll always be a dog. And those who cover his ass should go to jail. Have a good afternoon, everybody. I'll be back on later this evening. Bye.